Chapter 4. Joan had an uncharacteristically restless night, forever fidgeting and flipping over as sleep eluded her. After an hour and a half, she drifted off, only to flounder awake as Friday walked across her face. She groaned and spent another 2 hours staring at the wall and occasionally scratching Friday's ears, as demanded. Finally, around 3 a.m., Joan sank into anxiety dreams, chased through Alexandria Elementary School by a Mrs. Olsen-shaped pillar of flame, forced to leap over Brandon-shaped hurdles along the way. She was pulled out only by the blaring of her alarm at 7 o'clock. Her left arm was tucked under the pillow and remained asleep. She lurched out of bed, slapping feeling into her arm with her right hand, wincing at the spreading prickles as it slowly regained perception. She wandered into the blue-tiled bathroom, shedding pajamas across the floor as she walked. Joan emptied her bladder and pushed aside the stiff white shower curtain. She turned the tap and tugged on it, watching as the nozzle above sputtered and then erupted. She let it run until it steamed, and then stepped under the spray. She missed the days when her job consisted solely of analyzing the atmospheric conditions and predicting rain or shine. Just science. Science was what she had signed up for. Then the vapid weather girl had run off with a rogue anchorman, and her boss had decided that, since his meteorologist was also a buxom blonde, he might as well put her on camera. So now she had to actually make an effort to look nice, showering every morning, wearing professional clothing and makeup. It was a nightmare. Work fared little better than sleep. She spilled coffee on her keyboard, mixed up her forecasts for this week and next, and had to redo the entire teleprompter program, and then stumbled over the words again during the taping. Thankfully, the station she worked for didn't broadcast the weather report live anymore, and after 12 takes, she finally wrapped up, muttering something to her boss about a sore throat to lay the groundwork for probably calling in sick the next day. She headed straight to the bar where Brandon worked for a much-needed drink. As soon as she entered the dimly lit room, Brandon hailed her. "Hey, babe, I'm so glad you're here. I've got a gazillion thoughts." She wove her way between rickety bistro tables and sturdy pool tables to her habitual green-cushioned stool at the bar. This time of day, between happy hour and the after-dinner crowd, the place was deserted. "Don't call me that. Can it wait like 8 minutes? I need a drink." "I guess so. What are you drinking today? Red wine?" "No, give me a Hendrix and soda with a splash of lime." "The good stuff, huh? Rough day?" Brandon leaned in over the bar as if to kiss her. Automatically, Joan began to lean in too, but then she remembered last night's resolve and her ominous dream, and she veered downward, bending over to hang her purple crossbody purse on a hook underneath the protruding dark wood counter, fidgeting with the strap and the brass hook for a long moment to give him plenty of time to get the hint. By the time she figured it was safe to come back up, Brandon was mixing her drink, scooping ice into a glass with a clink, then grabbing the squat black bottle of gin from among the rows of bottles behind him. He poured a stream of liquor into the glass, squeezed a fragrant half-lime over it, and topped it off with fizzy soda water from a blue nozzle. His gray flannel button-up shirt was rolled up to the elbows. Joan averted her eyes, watching an errant drip down the side of the tumbler as Brandon reached to his right for a lime wedge and perched it on the rim. He tossed a cream-colored cardboard coaster in front of her, advertising a local distillery, and then set her cocktail in its center. "This ought to help." She sipped her drink and briefly closed her eyes in bliss at the tart combination of gin and lime, the fizzy joy of the soda water. "Yum. Thank you. Yes, it's been a rough day. I just couldn't focus, and I couldn't sleep last night, at all." "Me neither. Has it been 8 minutes? Can I tell you my thoughts now?" Joan smiled. "Go ahead. What are your thoughts?" As though a switch had been flipped, Brandon shifted instantly into what she had long ago labeled his intense mode. He leaned forward again, supporting his body with folded arms braced against the end of the bar. His mind turned inward, and his whole face glowed. As he spoke, his voice emerged slightly breathless. "I've been thinking about the data you pulled from me last night. My electrical current spiked, right? And then it went right back down again before you kissed me." Joan nodded, basking in his radiance. "Right. After a couple of seconds, it started to fall again." "Yeah, so it occurred to me that contradicts the documented phenomena from experiments with witchcraft. Typically, in those cases, the subject's vitals are altered for a much longer time, and the electrical energy dissipates really gradually." Joan put her elbow on the bar, resting her chin on the back of her hand. "So you're saying that the effects of the key aren't spell-related. Does that mean the key isn't connected to the curse after all?" "Well, you know how I've always felt like our picture of witchcraft is incomplete." "Oh, Brandon, not this again." He scowled. "Look, there are hints in all of the older texts on witchcraft that there are multiple sources of energy and different types of magic that can be used, and all of the studies done on witchcraft have used the same garden variety Garden variety, Wiccan style of spells. Maybe there's something else out there, and that's what Mrs. Olson used on us. Hints are not concrete evidence, it's just conspiracy theories. That's why we focused our research on garden variety Wicca, and probably why the scientific community as a whole has done the same. We can't go chasing wild hares. We're running out of time. Brandon turned away from her, grabbing a polishing rag and angrily attacking the water spots on a pint glass. But the curse didn't follow the same formula as a Wiccan spell either. So she improvised. There's no proof that these other branches of magic exist at all, much less any information on how to find them or use them. Lips pursed, Brandon set down the pint glass and crossed his arms. Fine. Yeah. You're the scientist. Joan forced her voice into gentler tones. Isn't Veronica a witch? Maybe she can add some insight to this. No, she's just new agey. She's an energy worker, though. Reiki, I think, so we can compare those energies. He hesitated. I do have a friend who is a witch. I could see if she'd be up for helping out. Friend? What was that? What? Brandon began vigorously wiping down the bar, scrubbing away an imaginary stain. He peeked at her through his eyelashes. Joan frowned, eyes narrowing. That hesitation. You dithered. I did not. You absolutely did. Why have I never heard of this friend? We talk about witchcraft pretty often. I would think it would come up. She grabbed his hand, stilling it. Are you seeing someone? No. Brandon wilted under her stare. His words slipped out quickly, like fish frantic to escape a net. Not currently. We dated for a few weeks, about 6 months ago. You and I weren't together or anything at the time. I never mentioned her because it seemed like borrowing trouble, but now we have this key and... whatever. She pulled her hand back and waved it in the air, dismissing his fumbling disclaimer. Who needed Brandon and his daiquiri lips and delicious arms anyway? She eyed the pentagram tattoo just below his left elbow. He'd gotten it recently. Was it 6 months ago? Focus! Joan shoved her jealousy into a tiny box and locked it away. It's fine. It's none of my business. If she can help, that's what counts. Tell me about these witchcraft studies you mentioned. Who's running them? Derek has been very involved, actually. Well, that's good news. Derek is flying in today, and crashing on my couch. Brandon grinned. Sort of a good news, bad news situation there. What time is he getting in? Actually, I have no idea. I haven't heard from him since his initial text. Veronica has been texting all day long. Constantly. Way more than she needed to be. She's apparently at my place now. I left a key out for her this morning. She claimed the guest room right away, of course. And Ed is on his way down from Seattle. Thankfully, he's staying with his dad. I feel like Ed is the only one out of that group who I could stand staying with me, Brandon remarked. Well, the others bullied their way in. I've had a few comments on my posts, too, from people still living nearby and willing to help out. I figure I'll get them all to sign up for time slots to come in and measure their jolts. You'll come by after your shift, too, right? Of course. A gust of wind struck from behind her as the door was thrown open. Brandon leaned to his left to look past her at whoever was entering. Sadie, get your ass over here. Joan swiveled on her stool to face her oldest friend, who bounced onto the seat next to her. No sooner had she sat down than Sadie was on her feet again, standing on the brass rail, leaning over the bar to plant a kiss on Brandon's proffered cheek, while somehow simultaneously managing to shed her forest green coat and matching hat, depositing them onto the stool on her other side. Then she plunked back down, spun in a full circle, and stopped herself by grabbing Joan's blue-clad shoulder. What a beautiful day, you guys! Have you been outside? The fall is my absolute favorite. Joan laughed. You said that about summer just a few months ago. Oh, but fall is here now, and it's the best, at least until it starts raining nonstop. Joni, my love, you look positively exhausted. Sadie accepted a glass of white wine from Brandon with a wink, and then turned her full, formidable attention back to Joan. Used to such scrutiny, Joan merely sipped her cocktail. Sadie was the only one who was allowed to call her Joni, and she was even willing to overlook my love, based on the force of their friendship. At least it wasn't sweetie. I'm not exhausted yet. You must be looking into the future. Oh, what's happening in the future? Sadie absently tugged at a lock of her chestnut hair with her ring-laden right hand and drummed the long blue-painted fingernails on her left on the base of her wineglass. Joan often wondered what would happen if Sadie ever tried to sit absolutely still. Maybe she could convince Veronica to give her a yoga lesson. She was probably no crazier than the celebrities Veronica usually taught. Absolute chaos. That sounds amazing! Brandon intervened. Didn't you see Joan's post about the key? No, I haven't been online today. I have a life. What key? Oh, are the two of you back together? Moving in? What key? Sadie's head oscillated as she tried to look at both of them at the same time. Joan rolled her eyes. Sadie, aren't you at all concerned about the doom that is potentially descending upon us in 5 months? Sadie deflated. Oh, this is about the curse. I should have known. Don't you guys think about anything else? You are young and vibrant and sometimes in love. You should move in together. I mean, look, who knows if old what's-her-name really meant the whole you'll see me again thing, or if she even has the power to bring it around the second time. Or she could be dead. Or... Brandon rapped his knuckles on the bar. Wake up, Sadie. This is important. Joan shook her head at him. That was no way to get through to her. She laid a gentle hand on Sadie's arm. We have to try, not just for our own sakes, for our families. Sadie sobered immediately. She jumped to her feet and began to pace. I do know that. I'm not completely in denial. I made my mom promise to take the kids if anything happens to me. I just don't see why we shouldn't have fun in the meantime. Especially if our fun time is limited. I mean, look at you guys. She gestured widely, nearly smacking Joan in the face. You've put your whole damn lives on hold. And you're no closer to finding a solution than when we were 7. Joan and Brandon exchanged glances. Actually, Joan began. We have a lead, Brandon burst in. Joan found an old key that gave her the same jolt as the curse did, and we're going to study it, and all the others are coming into town, and we're totally going to figure it out. Sadie stopped pacing and twirled around on the balls of her feet, arms lifted in triumph. Holy fuck, you guys, that's amazing. Joan grinned at her. So you'll help? I need a buffer between me and Veronica, to say nothing of Derek. Ugh, deadly dull Derek is coming? Sadie rolled her eyes. You're on your own there. I like Veronica, though. She's got spunk. The door opened again, and a couple walked in, hand, choosing an out-of-the-way table on the other side of the room. Brandon hurried over to take their orders. Sadie plopped herself back onto her stool, windmilling her arms as she almost overshot the seat. She leaned close to Joan and spoke in a conspiratory tone. Don't think you're fooling me for a moment. You are perfectly capable of handling Veronica and Derek. You want a buffer betwixt you and Hunkalicious over there. We kissed last night. Joan took a sip of her drink. Twice. Sadie squealed. I knew it! I could feel the sexual tension the moment I waltzed into this place. You two are totally getting back together, and you're gonna get married and have babies, and shh! Keep your voice down. Oops! Sadie giggled and lowered her voice again. Well, are you getting back together? No, we have to focus on this key. We're working on a serious deadline now. It's not like when we were 24 and just making out over our research, confident that we'd be finding a cure soon, but not too concerned because it felt like we had 1,000,000 years. Joan paused. Also, some witchy ex of his is going to come help us out. Why, Joni, I didn't know you had a catty side to you. What's catty? Oh, no, I mean she's an actual witch. Wiccan. She's going to help us with our experiments. Oh, well, anyone with or without eyes can see Brandon is insane about you. I'm sure she was just a blip. Brandon returned to his station, and Sadie turned to him, a mischievous smile blossoming. So, Brandon, Joan tells me. I'm sure she did, he interrupted, grabbing 2 pint glasses from beneath the bar. The tap hissed as he filled them with amber beer. But she's right. We need to focus right now. He bustled back to his other customers with their drinks. Sadie shrugged, finished off her wine, and fished some money out of her pocket. She tossed it onto the bar and reached for her coat. Well, I gotta go pick up the twins from play practice. Should I come by this evening and help out? Please. Joan's phone chirped and she grabbed it, absent-mindedly leaning her cheek towards Sadie for the inevitable goodbye peck. As Sadie bounded toward the exit, Joan read the message from Derek. That presumptuous little fuck. Brandon rounded the corner of the bar, setting down his now empty tray. What's up? He wants me to pick him up at the airport, as soon as possible. Apparently he was expecting me to already be there, even though it's 2 hours away, and he never told me when his flight was getting in. And I'm not his lackey. She angrily punched in a response. Not gonna happen, dickface. Joan's finger floated above send. Then she sighed and deleted it. She was going to have to put up with him in her house for who knows how long. Might as well start out on a diplomatic foot. Her thumbs moved furiously across the screen as she typed in a new message. I don't have the time to drive you up there. Take the damn bus. She pursed her lips and deleted the damn. That was as diplomatic as she could be. She sent the text. The reply came in immediately. I'll look into it. See you later this evening. Huh. No argument? Maybe Derek wasn't as stuffy as she'd always thought. That was unexpectedly easy. He's taking the bus. Who is? Derek? Doubt it. No, he said. She was interrupted by the sound of another text. It was Beth Fiorelli, the notorious screamer, who had surprisingly not contacted her before now. I'm driving up to Portland to pick up Derek. What's your address again? Of course. He knew he could count on other lackeys. She texted back her address and set her phone on the bar again. She knocked back the rest of her drink. She'd put it off long enough. It was time to go home and get Veronica settled in before she had to deal with even more of them.